Hello everybody, this is Ian and I am bringing you a match between FXOdesRow, starting down in the bottom corner of Daybreak, and up in the top corner it is going to be EG's very own DeMusliM, currently staying at the EG lair in Arizona, I think it is, but he is a fellow Brit and also plays Terran, which is pretty cool. I always like the way Terran plays macro style. But I play Protoss because lasers. But apparently DesRow can't force field, which should be quite important if DeMusliM was going for bio. But normally I see DeMusliM go bio. I watch his stream a fair bit, but he sometimes does go mech. He's more likely to go bio against Protoss though, because mech versus Protoss doesn't really work unless you're Liquid C. But with Heart of the Swarm, it has opened up that possibility slightly more, I suppose, because Hellbats are very good against Zealots. They completely shred Zealots and worker lines, and it looks as though there is going to be a fairly quick supply depot and barracks, but no gas is yet taken, so presumably we're not going to see a Reaper just as of yet. But neither player going for an expand straight off the bat, so we might be seeing some fairly early aggression in this game. But the barracks is going to be about halfway done, and DesRow is going to take that gas, so presumably is going to go for a fairly fast mothership core or get fast sentries, but apparently he can't force field, so we'll have to see what happens with that. And the drone is going to go out for DesRow for a slightly earlier scout. DeMusliM's drone is, well, SCV is just going to come out just as the barracks is about 3/4 of the way done. But this probe will see that there's no gas, and it will see that there's no wall off, so a bit of early zealot pressure might work here, but the marine is on the way, and I think that any early pressure will be shut down pretty well. But here's a cyber core coming down, and it looks as though there are now there's 3 workers on gas. That one probe was just off gas for a few seconds. But DesRow, he's got the pylon hidden down here, so presumably he might hide away a tech structure like Stargate or Twilight Council at some stage. But the orbital command is going to come down for DeMusliM, which will grant access to the mules and the scans. But there is now a second CC coming down, so DeMusliM, and it looks as though DesRow is going to, no, I thought he was going to expand there for a second, but he's not hovering enough to do that. He's instead going to put the pylon down there, and now it looks as though he's going to expand. He just wanted to have that pylon stop himself from getting supply blocked. He is quite close to getting supply blocked, so it's always good to not be supply blocked. But it looks as though the SCV will try and stop the natural from going down. Warp gate technology is on the way as well, and it looks as though a zealot is going to be chronoed out to deal with the SCV problem. The probe is trying to kill it, and if the probe gets a kill, it might just get a medal of some sorts, or an upgrade in the ranks that they have. It's a disciple at the moment, so I don't know what it's a disciple of, presumably a disciple of Aya or Tassadar or Zeratul, but he's a disciple nonetheless. But the bunker is going to go down because DeMusliM has seen that there's no expansion as of yet, and so just wants to make sure that he doesn't fall victim to any early pressure, because from what we see, he only sees the gateway down here. So he now knows that there's an expansion, or at least he should do. No, he hasn't actually seen it, but it's assumed from the probe being down there and having to chase it around for a while. The probe, other probe is going to hold the watchtower, giving all important map vision, and the bunker is about to complete, and presumably those 3 marines will rush inside it like kids to a candy store. And there are more barracks to follow up, as well as double gas, so might be seeing a bit of bio tank, which is always a good solid strategy to go for. But we are going to see a slight confrontation between these 3 marines and the zealot and the stalker, but I think that this pressure will get shut down because attacking up a ramp is quite dangerous. He begins to load up the bunker, and DesRow will definitely not want to attack into that, at least not with just a zealot and a stalker. He might be able to bait some of it away, but ideally he needs more units to do that. Looks like the mothership core will be on the way over just to give a helping hand and possibly give additional assistance, but we do have a robotics factory getting plonked down over there by the cybernetics core, so he might try and do an immortal bust on the bunker, which is always pretty powerful, and it looks as though he is going to use the mothership core as possibly a scouting tool, but it could be quite dangerous as it can get shut down with just a couple of marines, because it is very fragile and very slow as well. Marines can easily catch up to it and take it down, so it is going to start getting fired upon, and it's actually going to pick off an SCV. No, oh yes, it does get the SCV kill. And that should put the workers count at +1 to EG.DeMusliM, but the mothership core's got to be careful. It can't now go back into the main base because it's only on half of its hit points. Slightly more, it's on about 60% of its hit points, but still it could be dangerous to venture back into the unknown. 2 more gates as a follow-up coming from EG.DeMusliM. He sees that it's going to be more likely a bio play, so he wants to have zealots and some sentries in the mix just to separate things up, and presumably we will see a robotics bay thrown down at some stage just to make sure that he has colossi and that tech path open to him should he see that it's definitely bio. But now double gas is coming on the expansion, so he is going to be looking to go into higher tech path anytime soon, but EG.DeMusliM is going to also get his gas on his expansion, but only one of them, so just going to wait and see. Stim is on the way for EG.DeMusliM as well, so he has that to his advantage because stimmed marines can chase down stalkers, which might mean that he can catch this lone stalker off guard. That stalker's very brave. It's just toying with it. Now it's backing away quite wisely because he doesn't know what's behind that bunker. For now there's only 2 more orders, but that could quickly grow. The factory is going to come down as well. Should have mentioned that a bit earlier probably, but factory is going to allow production of probably, it's going to allow the armory, so higher upgrades, and there's the engineering bay going down as I say that, and there is a starport as well, so he is going to get Medivacs, and presumably he is going to do the old flip and change and take the reactor onto the starport, or take the starport onto the reactor should I say, but the Twilight Council is just finishing up, so Blink in charge are going to be both possibilities. It's a 50-50 as to what he gets. Personally I get Blink, yes he does get Blink, but I'm quite fond of Blink Stalker plays, and it looks as though the Observer is just going to have a poke around, see how saturated the mineral line is, and see what sort of situation he has going with the army at the natural. So far it's a fairly thin army, doesn't have many units, but there's 12 marines stuck inside the main base in case EG.DeMusliM does decide to go for Stargate. As far as I know, there haven't been any scans. No, there haven't. He still hasn't spotted the natural, but again, it's implied by this stage that there will be a natural, and sentries are now out on the field for EG.DeMusliM, allowing him to quite easily hold this, because it'll take probably 1, 2, 3, 4 force fields to hold the choke, and you can always plonk down a couple of cannons there and there in the radius of the pylon. But it looks as though EG.DeMusliM is going to be wanting to move out and salvages the bunker, giving him a bit of extra cash. Not too much, enough for 1.5 marines, but that probe, it served as well, and it's going to get taken out by that one marine who feels the need to just stim himself rather slightly, and the scouting factory is going to come across, so it is going to be pure bio by the looks of it, and the 3rd CC is on the way. EG.DeMusliM might actually decide to rally into the 4th or the 3rd, and it looks as though EG.DeMusliM is just trying to hover enough to get... it looks as though the factory will be plonked down there to stop the expansion, and the rocks will be getting taken down. EG.DeMusliM will see this and know that there's an attack incoming, and can probably tell by the number of marauder shells that there's a pretty decent contingent of marauders. The scouting marine is going to come up here and is going to get taken out, but it looks as though the force fields are decent. Time warp is used, and the Colossi is here, or Colossus is here. Mothership core does go down, but the Colossus is holding its own, and Medivacs are going to boost out of there. And oh, that was a good snipe by EG.DeMusliM, blinking forward at the last second just to pick off that Medivac. That was a full Medivac as well, I think, and it had 8 marines. But it looks as though the probe is going to try and take on this factory, and this factory, it may go down. It probably will now that the bulk of DeSrow's army is attacking it. Excuse me. But we are definitely going to see a large gateway follow-up, and it looks as though extended thermal lance hasn't been researched yet, but it should be in dual course now that DeSrow knows that there's definitely bio on the field. But it looks as though he's hovering enough minerals, and there is the Nexus. And yes, he is going to probably place a couple of photon cannons just to delay the bio army enough in case it decides to come down and try and deny the third again. But it does look as though, if I can remember, still new to this, the new hotkeys. If we look at the upgrades tab, it is still just level 1 armor for DeSrow and level 1 weapons for DeMuslim. So I'd say that evens out. But they are both working on. DeMuslim's actually just going for weapons upgrades. So that's an interesting choice. It means he gets greater DPS, but DeSrow is also getting weapons, and Storm as well is on the way, which could be pretty useful against a bio army when it's properly force fielded and contained, as well as the Colossus. Just dealing splash damage is a good way to contain. I think charge has been researched. So that will again help with the decimation of a bio army. The third is going to finish up, and High Templar are being warped in, as well as having a couple already in the composition. Immortals as well, just because they help. Every little helps. DeSrow being the Tesco Protoss, just because everything's good against everything else, depending on compositions. If you're playing against the AI, you can probably do any composition and still win. But it looks as though DeMuslim is going to want to move in, and it should have 3 Vikings isn't really enough to take down. I think he's still only got 1 Colossus. Yeah, he's only got 1 Colossus out at the moment. But he's actually getting Warp Prism speed instead of extended thermal lance. I don't know if that's a misclick that he's done, but I thought he'd have gone for extended thermal lance, but he does have a warp prism on the way, so presumably some backdoor harass is going to be employed, which should prompt DeMuslim to move back once he realizes. But the observer is going to see that there is another command center, so DeMuslim probably going to try and go up to 4 mining well, not 4 mining bases, but 4 bases, even though all 3 of his bases are still mining. So he is still managing to keep his money pretty low, which is always a good thing. But he is now working on level 2 armor as well as level 2 weapons. And that is actually Codacious Reactor, I think, or Mobius Reactor. It's the one for ghosts. The Codacious Reactor was taken out, I think. That was in beta, gave the Medivacs a funky blue colour to their beams instead of green. But it looks as though the probes, I mean, they don't care. Their base be getting sieged, but they don't care. Colossus is going to go down because of the Vikings, but good storms are landed on 2 different groups, 3 different groups. The Warp Prism is going to go down. I think that was mainly there as bait, but there isn't too much left for DeSrow, and he is going to still land some pretty good storms, but the Immortals get taken out, and I think I heard some EMPs go off. I think that's what it was. Or, oh no, it might have been some feedbacks on those Medivacs, but there is a very low contingent of Marauders, and DeSrow is going to back off for now, so a decent defense. Did lose quite a lot in the units lost tab. DeMuslim has lost more, but he has been the main aggressor, and he is going to try and land the 4th, and it will not be denied. But I think that DeSrow must have seen it with that observer, because he should have seen it down there, and he won't have. Yes, he will have seen it because of the SCV is still there. So looks as though DeSrow is himself going to try and move out on the map. The Archon is going to deal some more splash damage, so presumably going to go for quite a splash damage heavy composition, which is always sensible. And DeSrow's own 4th base is going to come up, and DeMuslim should just see that. Yes, he does. But there is going to be a decent sized engagement down here. Decent storm landed on the bulk of the bioforces. They need to be healed up pretty smartish before the follow-up comes. Vikings are landed because the Colossi has only just arrived, and DeMuslim cleverly backs away there. But he is going to get a couple of his Vikings taken out, which will severely limit his Colossus destroying capability. And he is going to try and move in again and split up his units, which is very good for avoiding both Storm and Fungal. But only one of those is applicable in this scenario. And he is going to go for it. There's a really good concave for DeMuslim here. And he's saving the units with the Warp Prism. He's actually going to warp in right on top of DeMuslim's army. And it looks as though DeMuslim is being pushed back, even though he did have a very good concave. Medevac boosters have been activated. And DeMuslim is going to try and push back, picking off 1 or 2 Stalkers. Does another scan. And here come the Archons coming in, dealing all the splash damage. And the charge lots have charged recharged. Too many charges. It's almost like my credit card bill. But there's just DeMuslim's going to keep pushing forward. But DesRow is able to reinforce quicker because he's not having to come from his own main base. He's got a Warp Prism right next to him. And it looks as though DeMuslim is going to have to back off. And the Planetary Fortress has been morphed. But he is getting level 3 armor versus level 2 armor and weapons, just finishing up for DesRow. And it looks as though there's going to be a significant doom drop. And it's going to go in the main base. DesRow will not see this. And here it comes. There are some charge lots, and there's a High Templar in there. Storm's going down on everything. But it looks as though there weren't quite enough units to hold this off. And DesRow will have to bring his main army back to defend this. There's a Colossus. But it will get targeted down, and it goes down. DesRow, he needs to clean this up. His next and his main's gone. Yes, there aren't any minerals, but Chrono Boosts can be useful. They're a lot more useful in the early game, but in the late game they can still be as important. But he is going to load up and boost away. The Stalker's actually getting trapped on warping, so they can't quite go in. But there's going to be a drop at the natural. Workers killed is going to be getting pretty high at the moment. 25 to 2. The income tab must be looking horrible for DesRow, down to 900, 800, 700 to the 2000 of DeMuslim. And there's the GG. DeMuslim, it looks as though he was on the ropes, and he was when there were skirmishes there. He was outnumbered, but that doom drop, it won him the game. He completely decimated 2 mineral lines, took out a Nexus, and was starting to work on the tech structure, well, the gateways down here. The army was just caught out of position, and that was brilliant strategic and positional play from DeMuslim. And I will see you guys in the next game.